Hello, welcome back to Lady Love Said Reads. My name is Jessica, and in this video I'll be sharing with you upcoming releases through March of 2025 that I'm excited for. I admittedly have not been great about keeping track of upcoming releases. I often get surprised by releases that come out that are related to like my auto-buy authors and things like that. So I'm trying to do a little bit of a better job keeping track of what's coming out by who and when. And so one of the ways that I might be able to do that is by doing some of these anticipated release videos. I think I'll do them once a quarter and go like 3 months out. And these are books that I'm interested in reading. I am being very careful about my book buying habits this year. If you haven't watched my 2025 reading goals video where I explain the process that I'm going through with buying books. So just because I'm talking about these doesn't mean I'm automatically going to buy them. I'm probably going to get most of them through the library. There are 2 exceptions, and I'll share what those exceptions are as we go through. I also want to say that I do have a tendency to read a lot of dark and twisted materials, so before you pick up any of these books that I'm mentioning, make sure to check your trigger warnings. I don't talk about triggers on my channel because I do think that they're spoilery, but if you have concerns, I recommend going to Storygraph. They have excellent information about triggers and books. Let's get started with new releases for January. I am using Goodreads to help me out here as I go along, so I might have to adjust my camera angle a little bit here. Hopefully I'm still in the frame. So on January 14th is Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney, which is an adult thriller. I do actually own this book because it was early released through Book of the Month, and I picked up a copy in 2024. So it doesn't count towards 2025. So in this one, it says author Grady Green is having the worst, best day of his life. He calls his wife to share some exciting news as she's driving home. He hears Abby slam on the brakes, get out of the car, and then nothing. When he eventually finds her car by the cliff edge, the headlights are on, their driver door is open, her phone is still there, but his wife has disappeared. A year later, Grady is still overcome with grief and desperate to know what happened to Abby. He can't sleep, he can't write, so he travels to a tiny Scottish island to try to get his life back on track. Then he sees the impossible, a woman who looks exactly like his missing wife. I've read one other by Alice Feeney. I read Rock, Paper, Scissors, and that was also set in Scotland in like an abandoned setting. So she apparently likes to write about Scotland. I don't know if she's a Scottish author though. On January 30th, Famous Last Words by Gillian McCallister. This is also an adult thriller. I have read one other by Gillian McCallister. I read Wrong Place, Wrong Time and ended up really liking that one. So Famous Last Words. It is June 21st, the longest day of the year, and the life of new mother Camilla is about to change forever. After months of maternity leave, she will drop off her infant daughter at daycare for the first time and return to her job as a literary agent. But when she wakes, her husband Luke isn't there, and in his place is a cryptic note. Then it starts. Breaking news. A hostage situation is developing in London. The police tell her Luke is involved, but he isn't a hostage. He's the gunman. I have to read that. That's all that I'm really looking forward to in January. So let's move on to February. On February 4th, we have A Killing Cold by Kate Ellis Marshall. Now, Kate Ellis Marshall is my favorite thriller writer, so I did pre-order this in 2024. So I will have the book. It's one of those exceptions that I mentioned. I will own the book, but I ordered it in 2024, so it doesn't count towards my 25 challenge. When Theodora Scott met Connor, wealthy, charming, and a member of the powerful Dalton family, she fell in love in an instant. 6 months later, he's brought her to Idlewood. His family's isolated winter retreat to win over his skeptical relatives. Theo has tried to ignore the threatening messages on her phone, but she can't ignore the footprints in the snow outside the cabin window or the strange sense of familiarity she has about this place. Then, in a disused cabin, Theo finds something impossible. A photo of herself taken as a child. A photo taken at Idlewood. And now we're into March 2025, and there's actually quite a few in March, so buckle your seatbelts. On March 4th, we have Oathbound by Tracy Deonn. I am doing a read-along of the Legendborn cycle here in 2025, along with my friend Jasper at Coffee and Cracked Spines on Instagram. We're discussing it both on Instagram and on my Discord if you're interested in joining. In January, we're reading Legendborn. In February, we're reading Bloodmarked. And then when this one comes out on the 4th, we will be reading Oathbound. I'll read the description, but I'll redact anything that could be spoilery. Bree Matthews is alone. She's exiled herself in order to keep herself and those she loves safe. But Bree's decision has come with a terrible price. And spoilery. And the rest is spoilery. Let me just read you the Legendborn, because this is the first book in the series. It'll give you a better sense of what this series is about. So, after her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants nothing to do with her family memories or childhood home. A residential program for bright scholars at UNC Chapel Hill seems like the perfect escape until Bree witnesses a magical attack her very first night on campus. A flying demon feeding on human energies. A secret society of so-called Legendborn, students who hunt the creatures down, and a mysterious teenage mage who calls himself a Merlin and who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memory of everything she saw. The mage's failure reveals Bree's own unique magic and a buried memory with a hidden connection. The night her mother died, another Merlin was at the hospital. Now that Bree knows there's more to her mother's death than what's on the police report, she'll do whatever it takes to find out the truth, even if that means infiltrating the Legendborn as one of their initiates. That's a better description of what this series is about. Oathbound is the third and last in the series. On March 25th, we have This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. This is also an adult thriller. Ashley Winstead wrote a really good dark academic thriller called In My Dreams I Hold a Knife that I read and really enjoyed. So in this one, it says, it's the most famous crime in modern history, but only she knows the true story. After the unexpected death of her father, college student Jane Sharp longs for distraction from her grief. She becomes obsessed with true crime, befriending armchair detectives who teach her how to hunt killers from afar. In this morbid internet underground, Jane finds friendship, purpose, and even glory. So when the news of the shocking deaths of 3 college girls in Delphine, Idaho, takes the world by storm, and sleuths everywhere race to solve the crimes, Jane and her friends are determined to beat them. Sounds like Dark Academia as well, which is pretty cool. At least it's set in an academic setting. It also is kind of reminding me a little bit of Dark Places by Gillian Flynn, because in that one, there's a bunch of like true crime enthusiasts that are trying to solve that case. Also on March 25th is Retreat by Krysten Ritter. Yes, this is the actress Krysten Ritter. She also writes novels, and I read her first novel, which was called Bonfire, and I loved it. I thought it was excellent. Retreat, for some reason, is not pulling up when I click on it on Goodreads, but it says in the little description, a beautiful con artist insinuates herself into a wealthy socialite's life with deadly consequences in this serpentine thriller about identity and obsession. Say less. On March 18th, we have The Haunting of Room 904 by Erika T. Wurth. This is an adult horror, and I read Erika's White Horse in 2023, and it was one of my favorite books of the year in 2023. So The Haunting of Room 104 says, Olivia Vicente was never supposed to have a gift. The ability to commune with the dead was a specialty of her sister, Naiche. But when Naiche dies unexpectedly and under strange circumstances, somehow Olivia suddenly can't stop seeing and hearing from spirits. A few years later, she's in the most in-demand paranormal investigator in Denver. She's good at her job, but the loss of Naiche haunts her. That's when she hears from the Brown Palace, a landmark Denver hotel. The owner can't explain it, but every few years a girl is found dead in room 904, no matter what room she checked into the night before. Erika T. Wurth is also an Indigenous author. On March 18th, we've got The Summer Guest by Tess Gerritsen. If you've been around my channel for a while, you know that Tess Gerritsen is in my top 5 favorite authors of all time. I love her work. She mainly does like thrillers, crime, and that kind of thing, but it's so good. It's so much fun. Her main series is the Rizzoli and Isles series, but she has started another series called the Martini Club. And the first book in that series came out last year. I haven't read it yet. First book is the Spy Coast. And the second book is coming out this year. It's called The Summer Guests. And it says, when former spy Maggie Bird retired to the seaside hamlet of Purity, Maine, she settled in for a quiet life with breathtaking views, but enemies from her past soon threatened to destroy everything. So the main character is a former spy, and I need to read that one. I need to get that one not off my shelf, but I need to read that this year, I think. Also on March 18th is The Paris Express by Emma Donoghue. This is an adult literary fiction. Emma Donoghue writes some really hard-hitting literary stuff, and she is an Irish writer. So this looks like also historical fiction. So it says, based on an 1895 disaster that went down in history when it was captured in a series of surreal, extraordinary photographs, The Paris Express is a propulsive novel set on a train packed with fascinating cast of characters who hail from as close as Brittany and as far as Russia, Ireland, Algeria, Pennsylvania, and Cambodia. Members of parliament hurry back to Paris to vote. A medical student suspects a girl may be dying. A secretary tries to convince her boss of the potential of moving pictures. Two of the train's crew build a life away from their wives. A young anarchist makes a terrible plan, and much more. It sounds like one of those, like, slice of life stories where everybody's paths crisscross, kind of reminding me a little of Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, if you've ever read that. All right, and then last on the list today is on March 11th, The Antidote by Karen Russell. This is also adult literary fiction. I read Karen Russell's first book, Swamplandia, years ago. I want to say it was like 2012 that I first read that, but that book stuck with me. So this is her next release since that first one. And it says, The Antidote opens on Black Sunday as a historic dust storm ravages the fictional town of Ooze, Nebraska. But Ooze is already collapsing, not just under the weight of the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl drought, but beneath its own violent histories. The Antidote follows a prairie witch whose body serves as a bank vault for people's memories and secrets, a Polish wheat farmer who learns how quickly a hoarded blessing can become a curse, his orphan niece, a basketball star, and witch's apprentice in furious flight from her grief, a voluble scarecrow, and a New Deal photographer whose time-traveling camera threatens to reveal both the town's secrets and its fates. That sounds amazing. So, that sounds kind of similar to the Paris Express, to be perfectly honest. But Karen had me at Prairie Witch, so I'm sold. What new releases are you looking forward to in the first quarter of 2025? Let me know down below. If you just want to leave me an emoji to let me know that you're here, go ahead and leave me the little magnifying glass for the Spy Coast series. And until next time, make sure that you continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying my content. Bye!